In 2014, a 92-year-old man died in a small town in Vermont. He had worked as a janitor for 17 years. He had pumped gas for decades before that. He drove a second-hand car. He fixed his own coat with safety pins because he didn't want to buy a new one. When his wool was red, his lawyers found $8 million, not $80,000, not $800,000, $8 million. And not one person who worked with him, not one neighbor, not one co-worker had any idea. His name was Ronald Read. And this is the most important money story you will ever hear. Ronald Read was born in 1921 in Dummerston, Vermont. He grew up poor, not tight budget poor, genuinely poor. He was the first person in his family to ever hitchhike to school because they couldn't afford anything else. After serving in World War II, Ronald came home to Vermont and got a job at a Gulf gas station. He worked there for 25 years. Then he spent 17 more years as a part-time janitor at a JCPenney store. His salary was never high. His lifestyle was never flashy. People remember Ronald as quiet. A man who wore flannel shirts, who drove an old Toyota Yaris, who used to park 2 blocks away from the library to avoid paying for parking, who split firewood himself well into his 80s because he refused to pay someone else to do it. His friends at the local diner thought he was just a regular retired guy. His neighbors thought he was careful with money, maybe a little too careful. Nobody, and I mean nobody, thought this man was sitting on a fortune that would shock an entire nation. But Ronald Read had a secret, and he had been building it quietly for over 60 years. Ronald Read did one thing that almost no American does consistently. He invested. Every single paycheck, no matter how small, he put a portion into stocks. Not crypto, not real estate, not lottery tickets. Plain, boring, dividend-paying stocks. He bought companies he understood. Companies he saw every day. Wells Fargo, Procter & Gamble, Johnson & Johnson, J.M. Smucker. He walked into the offices of his broker with handwritten notes on paper bags, stock certificates stuffed in a safe deposit box. Ronald never earned more than $25,000 in a single year, but he understood something most people with $25,000 salaries never learn. Compound interest doesn't care what your job title is. It only cares about time. If you invest just $300 a month starting at age 25, with a 7% average annual return, by age 92, you have over $3.5 million. Ronald invested more than that, and he started early, and he never stopped. While his investments compounded for decades, Ronald spent almost nothing. His biggest luxury was breakfast at a local diner, where he always sat at the counter, never a table. He split his own firewood. He mended his clothes instead of replacing them. He drove used cars his entire life. Ronald Read never had credit card debt. He never took out loans he didn't need. He understood, deeply, that money spent on interest is money that can never compound. Every dollar he didn't waste became $2, then $4, then $8. Over 60 years. By the time Ronald died, he held 95 stocks across dozens of industries. His portfolio had grown to over $8 million. He had given almost none of it away during his lifetime. He had told almost no one it existed. And then, on June 2, 2014, Ronald Read had a stroke. He was gone within days. And when his lawyers opened the safe deposit box, they found something that would end up on the front page of newspapers across America. Ronald Read left $1.2 million to his local library. He left $4.8 million to the Brattleboro Memorial Hospital. He left the rest to his stepchildren and close friends. When the story broke, people couldn't process it. A janitor, a gas station attendant, $8 million. The story went viral across every newspaper in America, not because it was impossible, but because it revealed something uncomfortable. We have been taught that wealth is about income. Get a high salary, get a big job, get a big house. Ronald Read never had any of those things. He had something far more powerful. He had patience. Every year, millions of Americans earn good salaries, $60,000. $80,000, $100,000, and retire with almost nothing. They spend every raise. They upgraded every car. They bought the lifestyle before they built the foundation. Ronald Read was not an anomaly. There are thousands of people like him across America right now. People living in modest homes, driving used cars, clipping coupons, quietly sitting on millions of dollars in investment accounts. The millionaire next door is not a myth, it's a phenomenon hiding in plain sight. The system we are taught to follow, spend to show success, borrow to live the life, is the exact opposite of what actually builds wealth. Ronald Read played a completely different game, and he won. Now, what does that mean for you? Let me break it down. The first lesson: income is not wealth. Investment is wealth. Ronald never earned much, but he invested consistently for 60 years. The amount you invest matters far less than how long you invest it. Start today, not when you earn more. Today. The second lesson: lifestyle inflation is the enemy. Every time Ronald got a little more money, he didn't upgrade his life. He upgraded his portfolio. Every American who spends every raise they get is running in place while their money disappears. The third lesson: boring investments win. Ronald didn't pick moonshot stocks. He didn't invest in crypto or gold or whatever was on TV. He bought dividend-paying companies and held them for decades. Boring, consistent, unstoppable. Ronald Read died in a flannel shirt. He drove a used Toyota. He patched his coat with safety pins. And he gave away more money to his community than most people will ever earn in a lifetime. The question is not whether you can build wealth on your salary. Ronald Read answered that question already. The question is, are you playing the right game? If this story changed how you think about money, subscribe to Jack Financer Wolf.